Are you an LLC thinking of being taxed as an S-Corp? Well, in this video, I am going to tell you how your LLC can go from being taxed as an LLC to being taxed as an S-Corp and the steps that you need to take. If you are a single member LLC, you are probably filing a Schedule C that is inside of your personal income tax returns. And you are considered to be a sole member LLC, a single member LLC. And that probably has worked out great for you up until now. You're probably in a situation where you are now paying a lot of self-employment tax. That means that you are paying Social Security and Medicare tax, and you're now thinking to yourself, how do I get my LLC from being taxed as an LLC to moving over to being taxed as an S corporation? Well, the first thing that you need to know, as an LLC, you're already registered with your Secretary of State as an entity. When you make the switch from an LLC to an S corporation, you're really making a switch for tax purposes. For legal purposes, you are still considered an LLC. You will still remain registered an LLC with your Secretary of State. And it's really important that you understand that, because I want you to know that your entity is still going to be an LLC for entity purposes, for legal purposes. But for tax purposes, you've now made that decision to switch over to an S-Corp, and I am going to give you steps that you need to know. Step number 1, you need to fill out Form 2553. What is that form? That form is an election to be taxed as a small business corporation. No, you're not a corporation. You're just telling IRS, I want to be taxed as an S corporation. You have to fill out that form, you have to sign it, and you have to make sure that any other members of your LLC are also making this election as well. So if you are a sole proprietor LLC, meaning a single member LLC, you may be the only person that is going to fill out that form and sign it. But if you have other people that are inside of your LLC, they have to also sign Form 2553. Form 2553 is gonna go into IRS. You are going to mail it, and you're gonna mail it certified return receipt. Why? Because you wanna make sure that IRS actually received that form. That is so important to you, and you want to get that certified return receipt back in your individual hands because you want to prove that you actually sent in your election. Once you send in your election, IRS is going to change your status inside of their filing system to take you either from a single member, sole proprietor, or either from a multi-member filing Form 1065 to filing an S-Corp return. When you now have made that election, that means you're no longer gonna file as a single member LLC. You're no longer gonna file as a multi-member LLC, as a 1065. That is now over. You're now going to file Form 1120S. That is a corporate return with a subchapter S election. It's really important again that I tell you that that is only a change for tax purposes and not a change for entity type. You're still considered to be an LLC, but the form you're gonna file is going to change. What's really important when you switch over to an 1120S is that you now are going to have a little bit higher accounting requirement. We now need to track how much money each member of the LLC is putting into the LLC. We now need to track how much money each member of the LLC is taking out of the LLC. Why? Because when you file taxes as an S corporation, some of the terminology is a little bit different. The members are now going to receive K-1s. just like they would have done in a multi-member LLC. But money coming out to you now is going to be called a distribution. Terminology is important. I'd like you to understand terminology so that when you're filing tax returns and you see those fields on the tax returns, you now know what they're talking about. When you were operating as your LLC, you were taking out payments to your members, but the terminology was different. So important to know, payments are now going to be considered distributions. The other thing you need to know, when you convert over to an S corporation, you are also going to be required to take wages, to take an officer's salary. That's also very important. Even though technically you're not officers, you're still members, but IRS is going to be looking for wages to pop up for one of the officers that is in your S corporation. That means that somebody has to go on payroll. That means that somebody has to engage with the payroll service to actually pay wages and get an actual paycheck and actually get a W-2 at the end of the year. You probably are thinking, does all of my money have to be on a W-2? No, it does not. You want to take some of your money on a W-2 and you want to take the remainder by distributions. Why would you want to do that? It comes down to the amount of tax that you're going to pay. When you are making that conversion from an LLC over to an S corporation, part of the beauty of doing that is minimizing the amount of Social Security tax, Medicare tax, that 15.3% that you're paying on the net profit. Example, if you're in an LLC with $100,000 of profit, you're gonna pay Social Security tax, Medicare tax, $15,300. When you're in an S-Corp, you're not gonna pay that tax. That is why IRS requires one of those members to go on actual payroll so that wages are paid, so that some Social Security and some Medicare tax can be paid. Do you have to report the entire $100,000 of profit as wages? Of course not. You get to decide, but a rule of thumb is at least a third of the net profit should be paid in wages. So in our example of having net profit of $100,000, I would want to see $33,333 paid as wages and the remainder coming out to you in a distribution. That is automatically going to lower your income tax liability. The other thing that you want to make sure you do when you are an S corporation is really keep adequate books and records. This is so important. And why is this important? Because now, even though you took your LLC to an S corporation, and even though you're still an LLC, you're now playing a bigger game. You're now filing a corporate tax return to lower your taxes down, which of course, we want to keep money in our pocket, but you gotta have really good books and records because your accountant who files your income tax return is going to want to track all the ins, all the outs of your dollars. Plus, you want to make sure that you can create a balance sheet. What is a balance sheet, Karla? That's where we're able to show you have assets in your business. That's where we're able to show that you have cash in the bank. That's where we're able to show you may have accounts receivable where people owe you money, that you have desks and chairs and maybe vehicles for your business. So it's really important to know that when you make that transition from an LLC to an S-Corp, you're gonna need to do three things. You're gonna need to make sure you fill out Form 2553. You're gonna need to make sure that you go on payroll, and you're gonna need to make sure that you track your income and expenses so that you can create a balance sheet. You're gonna find yourself paying less tax. You're gonna find yourself doing more paperwork, but at the end of the day, it is going to be worth it for tax purposes. If you enjoyed this video, I want you to like, comment, and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you on the next video.